الحمد لله وكفى وسلام على عباده الذين اصطفى أما بعد أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والذين جاهدوا فينا لنهدينهم سبلنا سبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون وسلام على المرسلين والحمد لله رب العالمين اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد وعلى آل سيدنا محمد وبارك وسلم. So we have been speaking about some of the kayfiyat, the ahwal that a seeker of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala goes through. And if you recall, one of the things that we mentioned that our mashayikh have talked about is to begin one's day in a state of musharata, where you challenge your own nafs to follow and submit to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and to stay away from a life of sin and disobedience. And the second thing is that after that, the whole day, you have to be in a state of muraqabah. So we'll talk a little bit about that today. Muraqabah basically means to be in a state of observance, right? To observe something. And in this case, we are not observing the outside, the afaqi world. We are observing the inner world, or anfusi world. We are in what they call in English being introspective. Right? We are looking within. And when we say looking within, it is to keep our heart in check. And what we mean by keeping our heart in check is that it does not allow for ghayrullah to enter it. It does not give any place to ghayrullah. And it remains focused on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So you have to be in a state of muraqabah and observance for that. And also to keep our nafs in check. And we've spoken about that as well, because nafs is like a kid, like a child, out of control. And we have seen that when children are out of control, they're running around and they want things, they desire things, and they don't care. They don't care about what the circumstance might be. You might be sitting in front of the president, but when what the kid wants, the kid wants. It will run for it. So similarly, you kind of have to keep the kid inside in check, because they're not ma'soom like kid. The nafs itself is very, very cunning, and it is very, extremely stubborn. So you have to especially look for the triggers. You have to look for the triggers that makes us do certain actions that are clearly haram and that is against the commandments of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And if we don't do that, then it will easily just start to control us, and before you know it, it will become next to impossible to not give in to its desires. So you have to be in a state of observance and muraqabah for that too. Okay, what is my nafs looking for right now? Keep it in check, left, right, ahead, So usko check mein rakhna, that requires observance. And then the mashayikh have said about muhasibah and mu'akhaza that we have mentioned before. So as you know, that a lot of salasil and a lot of turuq, they emphasize this exercise of muraqabah. And for us as well, the specific tariq that we follow, the Naqshbandiyya Mujaddidiyya, this is something that eventually comes. There are three kinds of azkar that are, or three categories of azkar that we go through. The first one, as you know, is what is called the dhikr khafi of Ismi Jalala, Allah, Allah, Allah. And so what we do is we try to purify ourselves, especially or our inner faculties, what we call the lata'if or the subtleties, whether they are related to alam amr or alam khalq, the created universe here, or the alam that Allah Ta'ala created with kun fayakun. And so we try to invoke His blessed name, Allah, 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 which is Ismi A'zam. And the barakah of that ism is that it has a cleansing effect. It's those pods, the oxy something pods that you put in detergents, you just put it and subhanallah, white clothes become whiter. So exactly like that, the name Allah, 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 when we learn how to invoke it within ourselves, وَاذْكُرْ رَبَّكَ فِي نَفْسِكَ, within ourselves, then it has a very cleansing effect on the soul. And the second one, as you know, is that we do the dhikr of La ilaha illallah, and we do it in a very specific way, and this dhikr itself has the effect of cutting off any relationships and connections. Tayghila, the sword of La, it cuts off our chains that make us bound to the world and people in the world. After that, all of the asbaq are what we call the asbaq of fikr, or what they call the muraqabas. Whether it is the muraqabah of ahadiyat, or ma'iyyat, or ahabbiyat, or aqrabiyat, or the muraqabas of kamalat and haqa'iq, etc., etc., etc. These are specific focuses that we do, and this is what observances that we observe. For example, the ma'iyyat of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You can't see it, but this observances, you can feel it with your wajdan or your intuition. Same thing with aqrabiyat, because Allah Ta'ala Himself has mentioned these things in the Quran. فَإِنِّي قَرِيبٌ نَحْنُ أَقْرَبُ إِلَيْهِ مِنْ حَبْلِ الْوَرِيدِ. Right? Allah Ta'ala has mentioned. What does that mean? Right? And how do you experience that on a very metaphysical level? So that requires a muraqabah, a little bit of training within ourselves, so we're able to feel it with our intuition, so on and so forth. And when we say haqiqat Ka'ba Rabbani, haqiqat Salat, and haqiqat Quran, and haqiqat Sawm, these are things that we are very much aware of. We know we have to pray, we have to fast, we have to read the Quran, etc., etc. But what are the haqa'iq behind them? And what are the tajalliyat and manifestations of these specific things that we are required to do? So all of that requires observance. Some of our mashayikh did what is known as muraqabah maut, which is also very interesting. And we should try to do it every now and then, which is really to go through the process of maut in your wajdan. You close your eyes and just if you have seen somebody pass away, you can relive that, but for yourself, or as it has been described within the blessed Sharia of how a person passes away. Right? It has a really strong effect, that I am taking my last breaths, the angels have come and they are taking my ruh out, and it's coming from my feet and eventually my legs, and I can't move them, and agonal breathing, I can't breathe, and eventually it is taken out, right? And then the whole process of ghusl and Salatul Janaza, and being taken to qabr, and look at the qabr itself, that I'm put in there, and all my loved ones are putting me in there, and then they are covering me with pounds and pounds of dirt, right? So kind of living that experience within the mind. And you can imagine that muraqabah maut is a very powerful thing to do, because it reminds us of our eventuality. Right? Is there anybody who can escape it? Right? We cannot escape our own deaths. Kullu nafsin za'ikatul maut. So this is the za'ika of maut that we are, before you have the full meal, the main course, we are trying to chakna thoda sa jota. What is that? The thing that you do before a full meal, right? Huh? Appetizer. So it's like we're using the appetizer of mutu qabla an tamut. Right? So we are experiencing. So some of our mashayikh did that as well. And so we should every now and then, if you feel, that the world is like pulling us too much, okay, well, remember your death, and literally remember your death. Okay. A lot of for example, it's not a part of our suluk, because it can have a, people can fall into sort of despair while doing this as well, because and wallahu alam, it's a good thing or a bad thing having that haiba, right? Maybe it's a good thing, because it will maybe transform and change. What do we do? If nothing else is working, you might as well just go through this muraqabah maut, just like it's theek hai. Apni marzi karni hai, okay, you want to do your marzi, okay, well, do this as well when we'll have no marzi. My father passed away, and I was holding his hand when he passed away. And, for a couple of hours, he had that agonal breathing. And it's still very, fresh in my mind. He's trying to breathe, and it's just not coming. Right? So just, really trying to pull it in. And, it's ajib that your heart, because the body is not getting enough oxygen, it starts to pump harder. So, the oxygen can come. And it pumps and pumps and pumps, your blood pressure goes up, and your heart rate goes to really high 150 and above, and then your heart just gives up because it has worked so hard, and that oxygen is just not coming, and then it becomes so tired that it just gives up then. So this is more, and it doesn't matter if it's your father, it's your mother, it's your brother, it's your sisters. We are going to experience that as well, and it's very eye-opening. It should be very eye-opening, because it's time we wake up, right? It's time we wake up from our slumber and our sleep and our ghaflat. And so all of these mashagil that Mashaykh talk about, doing muraqabah and dhikr, this is not something to, just okay, we're just doing it for the sake of doing it. There's a real maqsad of waking up to the reality of our own lives. Okay? This world is really distracting. There's too many temptations out there. All you have to do, you have to walk. Actually, you even don't have to walk out anymore. Right? You just have to open up your phone and that's it. You are lost in another world, the cyber world, and it is so distracting. It is so distracting. There's so many temptations. It's just like pulling you. And I'm reminded of Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said that I am pulling people away from Jahannam. Huh? They're walking towards the Jahannam, and Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. And so we need to do that. We need to wake up to the reality. And so inshallah ta'ala, trying to make sure that we are in a state of observance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's azmat, Allah ta'ala's ni'mat, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala watching us, right? That also brings the state of ihsan. Alam ya'lam bi anna Allah yara. They don't know that Allah is watching them. That's like, you don't know Allah is watching you? And so it's something we have to wake up to. And so Ramadan, these end days, very soon inshallah ta'ala, the Taraweeh will be over. Very soon the Ramadan will be over. The question is, kya khoya, kya paya? What have we achieved? Really, we have to ask. That is the muhasabah, really. Like 30 days, what have we done? What have we done? What changes have we brought in? Remember, before Ramadan, we had that mehfil zikr, and it was like, we have to be very goal oriented in this Ramadan. Ya bhul gaya sare? Bhul gaya? Yaad hai? It was about, what are our goals, and we have to bridge that gap between intention and amal. We have to bring in the himmat, right? Yes, is that what we spoke about? So we have to ask ourselves, did we put in the himmat? Intention to har bande ki wali ki hai, we want to become wali of Allah. But did we bridge the gap? Did we do the amal? Did we stay away from sins? Did we stay away from the batini sins? Did we do any of this? Nahi hai to phir kya hai? What are we expecting is going to happen? Some magic is going to happen that automatically, the change will somehow. No, it doesn't work that way. You have to wake up from within, right? Even for what they say, okay, what about the tawajjuhat of the mashayikh? Even to benefit from the sun, you have to open the window, right? So the sunlight comes in. If the window is closed and curtains are drawn, and you're like, sunlight? Why isn't the sunlight coming in? I thought it was. Well, you need to open the windows. Well, we need to really, do this change within ourselves. हिम्मत करनी पड़ेगी. अब ये तो नहीं है कि सुस्त बैठे हुए हैं, कुछ कर नहीं रहे हैं, फिर रो रहे हैं बैठ के. I mean, look at what's happening to Muslims around the world. Is that not enough to wake us up? It doesn't shake us a little bit, the cries of our sisters and the children? The cries of our sisters and our daughters and our mothers there. Is that not enough to wake us up? Then we shouldn't even call her Muslims, let alone insan. Insan bhi hota, they wake up, when they see. And what are we doing? So we need to reconnect with this deen, with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, with a new vigor, new energy, with a new passion, and with a new sense of urgency. Okay, this is what we need to do. We need to do this change, and we need to spread this change to all of our. Everybody knows. You have friends It's not just about you. Bring your friends. Bring your friends. Okay, we need to together. We need to together do amal on this deen. I have fikr for you. So let's do this together. Let's not waste any of our time. So we need to have this collective awakening. And all of that is what we call this observance in a state of muraqabah, of realities and attaching ourselves to that. So may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala allow us in this blessed month of Ramadan to experience this. May Allah ta'ala allow us to really benefit from the remaining days. And just one day is enough for that. May Allah ta'ala give us Laylatul Qadr. Ameen Rabbul Alameen wa akhir da'wana and alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen.